You Don't Know My Life is a board game that was developed by my friend Dennis Hensley and a partner of his. And Dennis and I used to do radio together with for Westwood One back in the day on a nationally syndicated show. And so he is a journalist and a broadcaster, and he would ask celebrity questions to try to get celebrities to kind of drop their guard. And so he collected all these questions and made it into a game. And I just love this game. I love him, and I supported him when it first came out. But I truly love the game, despite who made it. And so Jen and I have actually played it online with Dennis and had a good time with the crew. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a sample question from the deck, and I'm going to answer it, and Jen's going to answer it. So are you ready, my love?
I am ready. And I had so much fun playing this with Dennis and your friends from Twist online. This is so much fun. And we are going to do this with the Frenzy.
Yes. Yo, yes.
So
We're going
it's
to do an
coming
online
up.
version. Yes.
We're going to do a virtual event. We're going to have You Don't Know My Life come to life for everyone. I'm so excited
Yes.
about it. All right. So what's our question today? I always get so nervous. I'm like, am I going to have an answer?
All right. I think you'll have an answer for this one. Have you ever written a fan letter or approached someone you admire in person to gush? And this, to me, I feel like since we meet a lot of celebrities, this is outside that realm. It's like where you initiated on your own a letter or approached a celebrity because you are a fan.
I'm sure I have. I just have a terrible short-term memory. All right, you've had longer
You
to
want me to
think
go
about
first?
this.
Yes.
Yes, you always have to go first.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I know I have an advantage because I have the cards. And Jen and I don't do the show in the same place, right? Someday, hopefully, we'll be in the same place, but since due to COVID, we're both at home. Um, all right. So when I was young, and I guess it's not socially acceptable anymore, but I was a huge fan of Dukes of Hazzard. Okay. And,
Those
because
guys were hot.
in the General Lee, I
Luke
did a
Luke
Confederate
and
flag on
Bo
the front.
Duke.
Luke and
I
Bo
just
Duke.
I was kinda young for that, but I do remember them jumping in and out of the car, right? The car doors didn't open?
The doors were welded
That's
shut.
all I
Yes.
remember about it. Okay.
So they were rednecks, right? The idea was they were rednecks. If you never watched Dukes of Hazzard, they were rednecks from, and I think it was insinuated it was Georgia, but I don't know if they ever specified, because there's a Hazard County in Kentucky as well. So it was just some southern state. I think though, that it was supposed to be Georgia. So they were guys who had gotten in trouble for guns, and this is part of the show, and they got in trouble for guns, so the guns were taken away from them, and they could only use bow and arrows as their defense. So there were times where they used bow and arrows. And so the car, the General Lee, again, this is not cool today, but back when I was a kid, this was so neat. The General Lee was the name of their car, and the doors were welded shut because demolition cars, back in small southern towns,
Mm.
the doors didn't open. So they would run and jump and slide across the hood. So I was too young to understand that I wanted to be Bo Duke, not be with Bo Duke. Okay. So I just knew that I had this, crush on John Schneider. Because I thought he was really good looking. But like I said, I
You wanted
I
to be
I
him,
wanted to
not
be
date
him.
him.
Yes, exactly. So I wrote him a letter, and I got an autographed picture back. I don't think I ever kept that, which is sad, but I got an autographed picture back from John Schneider, and I remember licking my finger and rubbing it on part of the ink to make sure it was real, because I thought this is not printed. And like even at like 8 years old, I was like, "Is this authentic?" He probably didn't sign it, but whatever. But yes, so John Schneider, I got an autograph, and I reached out to him as a fan.
Awesome.
And then the great thing is, because of our profession, I did get to meet him later on, and I will say that he was as lovely as I would hope he would be when I did meet him. So I don't think I told him about reaching out to him when I was 8, but I did have his poster in my room too. So the whole thing, my mom was a little, she was a little surprised when I got older,
Confused.
confused when I got older, that she had John Schneider
Wait a
and
second.
yeah.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so pose the question one more time,
All
'cause
right.
I've now thought of 3 different celebrity stories that I could tell, but I wanna pick the right one.
All right. Have you ever written a fan letter, or approached someone you admire in person simply to gush?
Okay. So there's 3 people I've approached. I haven't ever written a letter, I don't think, but I have approached 3 different people. Um, do you want when I was a little kid, one of my first concerts, when I was in my senior year of high school, college visiting, or do you want one from when I was just married to Grant and we were headed out on our honeymoon?
Oh my goodness.
What time of life is the best?
Well, let's do the, you say high school or college?
High school senior.
Let's do the high school senior one,
Okay, you're
'cause
gonna
I did
love
the
this
little
one the
kid one.
most. Okay.
Okay.
So, when I was a high school senior, I got to go college visiting with a friend of mine, and I can't believe my parents let us go because we went up to the Northeast. I'm from Florida and, grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida, and, but I wanted to go to, visit women's colleges. I really wanted to go to Smith,
Mhm.
and so I went with a good friend, and we went to, like, Smith and Barnard, UMass and Mount Holyoke, because I had camp counselors that were all at those schools. So for some reason, my parents let us go by ourselves, which I can't even believe they let us do that. Um, but I think anyway. So I went and I was with one of my dear friends who I'm still friends with today. Her name is Chantel. Chantel and I went up, and when we were at University of Massachusetts, Gloria Steinem was speaking.
Oh, wow.
And as young feminists, we were, into reading her books and we knew about what a leader she was in the women's movement, and we were enamored, and Gloria Steinem is like model level gorgeous,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yes.
always has been growing up, and her appearance is kind of how she became such a leader. She acknowledges that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we go to her talk. There's maybe 30 people there to hear her speak at this school. And I'm guessing some of the students were probably required to go see her speak. But we stayed after and we stood in line and we stalked her so that we could actually have a
Nice.
conversation. So we just gushed. I don't really even know what we said. I'm sure we sounded like babbling idiots,
Oh, I'm
but
sure
the
she
2
loved it
of
though.
us were so excited to actually be in her presence, and I can remember her still standing kind of by a wooden podium lectern, and we just stood there and waited until
Lectern.
we
That's a
could
big
meet her,
word.
right?
Nice.
Lectern, or what do
I
they call
guess.
it?
I'm impressed because that was very is I felt like I was reading a novel. Like, oh my
I
god, that's
I'm
a great descriptive.
I'm Episcopalian. There's lecterns, there's lots of,
Very nice. I'm
liturgical
sorry. I didn't
words
mean
in my
to go in a
vocabulary.
yeah, I didn't mean to diverge, but I was very impressed by that. I was
But
like,
she
"Ooh,
stood there, and she kinda stood out from behind the lectern, and and we just gushed and gushed and talked to her, and she was wearing her big, eyeglasses, and, I
how
don't know if she was
neat."
put off by us fangirling over her or not.
No, of course not.
It's
Well,
one of
and
those things that's one of those moments where we were like, "This is our chance," and I think we even had to sneak into the lecture hall. I mean, I'm sure we weren't included.
that I
It
think
was
that's
like a
such a
college
great
course.
I mean, and so Jen, let me ask answer this. The reason that your parents let you go by yourself is because the sneakiest thing you did was sneak into a Gloria Steinem lecture, okay? So,
That's
there's your
true.
answer. Yeah,
That's
so I
true.
think your parents understood, but yeah, Gloria Steinem to me is just an icon, she's a historical icon, and for those who don't know her story, like Jen said, she's gorgeous. Um, I've had the pleasure of seeing her several times,
Mhm.
and, she got her or at least she got on the map when she went undercover as a Playboy bunny and wrote about it. She was a journalist, and so she
Yeah.
wrote about how the women were treated in the Playboy mansion, and she was gorgeous enough to be able to be a Playboy bunny for that moment. So, and one of the other we could talk about Gloria Steinem too, but one of the
I
other
know.
things I love about her is she wrote a piece, about if men had periods, and it is it's a must read if you can Google that because it is
So good.
hilarious, and it's so true
And
that
she
what
inspired me. I mean, I already was interested, but after meeting her that day and talking with her and just fangirling and geeking out, I became a women's studies minor in college. Communications was my major, but it was, the beginning of my devout women's studies.
It's so funny, when I was at the University of Tennessee, I was on the events committee, and I ran the women's center, and so
Of
and
course you
Gloria
did.
and Gloria Steinem was one of the people we brought in, so it yeah, so
Really? And see,
yes!
this is what is so cool about this game. Have I ever told you the Gloria Steinem story?
No!
And we've been friends for 20 years.
Yes, and
This
we have
is what
similar interests in
Yes!
college and high school and stuff, and we never talked about we've never talked about Gloria Steinem once in
How
20 years.
crazy is that? And that's why you've got to get this game, You Don't Know My Life, because even with your bestest friends, you're gonna discover new stories,
Yep.
and we're all sick of talking about the same old things, you know? So this is going to bring up new and rich conversations with you and your friends. So go and buy it. You don't know my life.com, or you can grab yours today at Amazon. And as you know, it'll be on your doorstep by tomorrow.
That's right.
Right? God, I
That's
don't know
right.
how they do it. Doesn't Amazon freak you out? Like, where,
Yeah.
how do they do this?
Well, and then there are
How
the
do I
things
click a button and it's here tomorrow?
yeah, and then the things that they say are gonna take, 2 or 3 weeks, they're giving you worst case, and then it shows up in 48 hours. So, I mean, it's amazing.